Good morning. It's Friday, November 14th, World Diabetes Day. And good luck diabeting this fact. There is no cure for type 1 diabetes, but companies like Vertex are working on implanting lab-grown pancreatic cells that are producing insulin. Now, it's not a one-size-fits-all cure, and it's still early in its testing phase, but that's not nothing. And it's possible that as early as next year, that company could seek global approval for this treatment on a small group of people. That's amazing! Science! Incredible! And now, the news. All right, it's Friday, the government's open. Let's have ourselves a little show, starting with our THC's in trouble. I did not read ahead of this thing that I wrote and definitely knew was coming. Acting. I hate it here. Yeah, so here's what's going on. In this precious little spending bill was a provision banning, hello cat, any product with more than 0.4 milligrams of THC per container. Container. We're talking about a $28.4 billion industry that employs 300,000 people here in America alone. Now, if you don't partake and you're not sure how many milligrams are in containers and how big of an effect this could really have, 90% of products that are sold have more than 0.4 milligrams. So maybe we should have spent a little less time worrying about healthcare and a little more time worrying about pot. Too far? Yeah, I felt it. I felt like I was going too far on it. Honestly, though, setting aside the fact that people use this recreationally, and this is absurd and basically the same thing as saying that all drinks that contain 2% alcohol are outlawed, there are medical benefits to THC. My family has been a big supporter of medical marijuana for decades because they have been a witness to that benefit. We're talking about pain management that prevents people from having to turn to more addictive pain medicine, sleep aids, help with stress and anxiety. It's actually being studied and has been found to have a positive link between THC use and TBI recovery. But when you elect a group of deeply uncurious people who just decide pot bad because Nancy Reagan told me in a super racist anti-drug campaign, we get decisions like this. Hopefully, Senate Republicans like Rand Paul, who doesn't really seem to care about this as a pot issue, but more of a farming issue, will be able to bring a bill to the floor of the Senate to overturn this nonsense. I mention him specifically because originally he tried to strip this from the spending bill, but it was stopped. So we'll see. Be a lot cooler if it wasn't. Stop being so jealous of us. Get a life, losers. News: the Department of Justice is suing California to block the maps that we voted on last week. So, a couple of things here. We voted for this. You may recall, because at first, Gavin Newsom was like, if Texas gerrymanders, we're gonna gerrymander. And I really got on my high horse about it. About how injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, and gerrymandering anywhere is a threat to democracy everywhere, and how dare he, and just because your jaw looks like it could slice deli meat, that's a saying, it's a very common saying, just because your jaw looks like it could slice deli meat, it does not give you a right to do gerrymandering. And then he announced that he was putting this to the will of the voters, and I very quickly changed my tune, and suddenly I loved the idea. Actually, I genuinely loved the idea. I was very for it. And I wasn't the only one. 64% of the state co-signed on the idea. Prop 50 passed. So the first thing with the DOJ's little hissy fit is that the voters voted for this. Overturning this means overturning the will of 23 million Californians. I wonder if we'll find a chill about that. We will not, in fact, find one single chill about that. I'm about to be so annoying if this happens. Additionally, this is in response to what Texas is doing, but what Texas is doing is worse. In fact, many states are doing it, and it is worse. They're doing it because Trump is telling them to do it. They're doing it to cheat because they know they can't win. Probably because they're taking health insurance and pot away from people, among many reasons. Not super winning ideas, you losers. Regardless, Texas is also changing their maps mid-decade, which is what the DOJ is pretending to care about here. But they don't actually care because they think that the Texas maps will help them win. Again, this is only about cheating. That's all they want to do. But, do you want to hear Pam Bondi's absurd announcement when she made her filing? Because it's pretty absurd. Her pretend reasoning was this, quote, California's redistricting scheme is a brazen power grab. Hey, stop it. We're taking it seriously. It's a brazen power grab that tramples on civil rights and mocks the democratic process. Gavin Newsom's attempt to entrench one-party rule and silence millions of Californians will not stand, end quote. Baby. Honestly, I'm pretty proud of her for Alta-Vistaing some of those words. Big words for her. Whatever. We're not afraid of this administration. I don't understand how they don't understand that yet. They are kidnapping our neighbors, and we are fighting back. They sent in the National Guard in hopes that they would trick us into fighting back enough to get Trump to invoke the Insurrection Act, but we're smarter than him. That's not hard, but it's true. And so we didn't do it. He sues us, and we win. We literally want nothing to do with this administration. Keep our name out your mouth and we won't have any trouble. And yet, do you really think California is afraid of these morons? Look at us. Look at everything that we have been through this year and understand that our GDP growth has still exceeded the national average. Nothing can bring us down. Not fires, not ice, not polite Canadians with baseball skills, and not your little Department of Justice's loser lawsuits. My third point here is this. It's just a little one. Imagine this being your focus when the entire country knows that you could be investigating the President of the United States for his connection with the most famous child molester and child sex trafficker. We wish them the worst. We wish them the worst. I truly don't know how they sleep at night, but I hope it's terrible and they have really bad dreams and they wake up at 3 a.m. and their tum-tum hurts. Because I wake up at 3 a.m. with stomach aches, and for what? They should always wake up at 3 a.m. Their stomach should always hurt. And I hope that their pillow is never comfortable. And I hope that that is the best part of their life, is really bad sleep. Everything else is all downhill from there. Everyone's still digesting these 20,000 pages of Epstein documents, so more is coming out, but here's something. Apparently, despite saying that he cut ties with Epstein in 2006, it sounds like Trump spent Thanksgiving with the child sex trafficker in 2017, while he was president. There's an email exchange from November 23rd, 2017, where someone asks Epstein where he is spending Thanksgiving, and he names 2 people as well as Trump. Though it's unclear if he was saying that Trump is just also in Palm Beach for Thanksgiving, which he was, or if he was actually spending Thanksgiving with him. But it would be weird to just say that Trump was also in Palm Beach for Thanksgiving, because he's the president. That was already public knowledge. But it's more than that. There is more reason to believe that they were still being besties in 2017. One email to Epstein in December of 2017, so just the following month, talked about coordinating a place to meet with Epstein and specifically says that they were concerned about running into Trump. Quote, "I'm at the door, but I will wait for my time. I don't want to come early to find Trump in your house." End quote. He was the president of the United States, and he was sneaking around with Jeffrey Epstein. And how is the White House handling this? At a press conference on Thursday, Caroline Leavitt said, quote, "If not for the Jeffrey Epstein story, CNN would be forced to talk about how Chuck Schumer and the Democrats got shellacked by President Trump and Republicans in the government shutdown fight, end quote. Yes, Caroline, that is true. If emails further directly tying the President of the United States to the world's most famous pedophile hadn't come out, we would probably still be talking about the shutdown, and yet they did come out. So that's what we're talking about now. What is your point? You know, if John Wilkes Booth hadn't shot Abe Lincoln, we'd all be talking about how absolutely medium the play Our American Cousin was. So, got him. She's not smart. They do not hire smart people in that White House. Look, I know that our first instinct collectively, when really bad things come out about Trump, is to think, what will it matter? Because that dude is an enigma. Not unlike knowledge to his brain, nothing sticks. But that does not change this fact. This does not get to be something that he gets away with. We can't move on from this. He may never be charged with these crimes. He should be. He did crimes. He may never be charged with these crimes, but he does not get to move away from these. These files will come out. The truth will come to light. And we cannot let him just move on from this, because I don't even think that we have scratched the surface of the worst parts about it yet. Because I want you to consider how horrific of a fraction of a human Jeffrey Epstein was. How disgusting the people around him were. And then consider this. In an email in 2017, Epstein told someone this, quote, "Recall I've told you, I have met some very bad people. None as bad as Trump. Not one decent cell in his body," end quote. That's Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein being like, that guy Donald Trump is no good. Again, I'm going to double down on, I guess, giving myself homework. There will be a special episode of the show coming out at some point, Sunday or Monday. I like to keep you on your toes. It will cover this and include more of the documents once I have had a chance to peruse them. You know I love to peruse. I'm not going to love perusing these. These are going to be super gross to peruse, but yeah, I'll put out something after I get a look at them. I do want to note something though. These documents, we've only just seen the tip of the iceberg. They're really bad. These are really, really bad for Trump. So I think that we should just be aware that sometimes when things look really bad for Trump, he tries to distract us with other pieces of news. So I will be curious to see what other pieces of news he tries to show or create this weekend. And look, it's Friday. I certainly can't leave you with that. That cannot be the last story in a Friday episode. So here's a little something. Jack Schlossberg, the grandson of JFK and crush of my friend Nicole Campbell. Do you know Nicole? She's from the Metro Detroit area. Is running for Congress. He is the first direct descent of JFK to do so. In case you're worried or just generally curious about where he stands with his cousin RFK Jr. and RFK Jr.'s political beliefs, in September, Jack tweeted, quote, "RFK loser is a threat to public health and American scientific leadership," end quote. All caps, except oddly the word "and," which makes zero sense and also perfect sense because Jack is very smart and he will make a great House rep. And he's also a little goose on the internet. He's a little goose on the internet. He is running to fill Jerry Nadler's seat when he retires next year. I am very excited. I think he's going to make a great House rep, and I think it's going to be a very fun campaign to watch. And that's it. That's the news. I'm proud of, normally, the thing that I say at this point is that I'm proud of the thing from the beginning of the show. But what am I supposed to say here? I'm proud of diabetes? You monster. No, I'm proud of pickles. It's also National Pickle Day. but more than pickles, because you yourself are also jarringly gut healthy. I'm proud of you.